The clock is ticking. A 21-day deadline was set for Spaza shop owners across South Africa to register their businesses, and that deadline is tomorrow, or 17 December 2024, depending on who you talk to. There seems to be a bit of confusion here, but anyway. South Africa's Spaza shops have long been a part of township economies, and we even see them popping up in more suburban areas in towns and cities, providing convenient access to essential goods for residents. However, these shops, often operating on a small scale and with limited resources, have also faced scrutiny regarding food safety and regulatory compliance, as we have seen in numerous news articles over the last few months. The South African government recently announced a mandatory registration or a re-registration deadline for all Spaza shop owners, aiming to address these concerns. This decision has triggered a wave of debate, raising questions about the potential consequences for these shop owners, the communities, and the economy as a whole. Welcome to the Rian Show, where I look into those stories that affect every South African in some or other way. Let's dive in. Spaza shops. We've all been there. Well, most of us anyway. Unless you're part of that economic sector that distances itself from the working and often unemployed sectors. Whether it's grabbing a loaf of bread or a quick snack, these informal stores are the lifeblood of townships, offering convenience. But they're more than just shops. They have become community hubs deeply embedded in the fabric of township life. But here's the thing. Operating under the radar has meant little to no oversight. No one really cared about food safety compliance or business registration until now. The South African government has set a mandatory registration deadline for Spaza shop owners. The goal? Better regulation and improved food safety. Sounds good, right? But, as we know, the devil is always in the details. What do you think? Is this a step forward, or are we about to dismantle a key pillar of township life? While the government emphasizes the need for registration and improved food safety, concerns persist regarding the stringent requirements and the potential impact on Spaza shops, many of which are owned by foreign nationals. Now here's where things start to heat up. One of the rules is that Spaza shop owners must be South African citizens. It's a move that's dividing opinions. Did you know that more than half of Spaza shops have been owned by foreign nationals for years? Immigrant entrepreneurs have become a crucial part of the sector. The Minister for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa, I hope I got that right, said that foreign nationals can run Spaza shops if they have a business visa and invest 5 million rand in South Africa. But let's be honest here. How many small-scale shop owners, these foreign Spaza shop owners, have 5 million rand lying around? This is a figure that effectively excludes most immigrant entrepreneurs from staying in the game. So, is this about improving regulation, or is it a quiet way to sideline foreign business owners? Even the Gauteng MEC for Finance and Economic Development, Lebogang Maile, I think it is, acknowledges that foreign nationals have long held a significant presence in the Spaza shop sector, citing a study that found that over 50% of these businesses were foreign-owned a decade ago. And here's the big question. Should we be prioritizing South African citizens in the Spaza shop sector? Even if it means shutting out immigrant entrepreneurs who have built their livelihoods here. Fair or foul, South Africa? This makes me wonder, if the government is really trying to regulate the sector or if they are trying to limit foreign ownership and support local businesses. Let's zoom out a bit. If these rules lead to mass closures of Spaza shops, who suffers the most? The communities, of course. For many township residents, Spaza shops are not just convenient, they're essential. The Gauteng MEC for Finance and Economic Development has admitted that forcing closures could trigger a crisis in areas that rely on these shops for daily necessities. Just to clarify, I'm not here to support foreign-owned Spaza shops, but rather to explore the potential consequences if a significant number of them were to close. The government has promised to support compliant businesses with funding and increased oversight, but it's still uncertain whether these measures will be enough to prevent a crisis in communities that depend heavily on Spaza shops for essential goods. My aim is simply to highlight the broader impact of these regulations and the risks involved. Are we at risk of killing the very businesses we're trying to regulate? So here's my challenge to you. What happens when regulations become strangulation? Is there a better way to approach this? And then there is the government's track record. We've heard promises before about support for South African entrepreneurs in the Spaza shop sector. But let's be real. Have these efforts really worked? Have past efforts been effective? And has the government truly dealt with the core problems that led to so many foreign-owned Spaza shops in the first place? Even the Gauteng MEC admitted that resources are often misdirected, missing the people who need them the most. Now we're supposed to believe that this time it'll be different. And what about enforcement? Who's to say these rules will be applied fairly? Could we see Spaza shops being shut down arbitrarily, or worse, certain communities being unfairly targeted? Besides concerns about closures and economic impact, the approaching deadline raises important questions. How will the government enforce the regulations fairly? Will there be measures to prevent unfair closures or targeting of specific communities? Could closing many Spaza shops create a black market for goods? How will the government handle this challenge? Policing in townships is quite poor, as we all know. Will the government's support be enough for South African entrepreneurs to succeed in the Spaza shop sector? What can be done about ongoing issues like funding, training, and market access? At the end of the day, this is about more than just Spaza shops. It's about our economy, our communities, and our identity as a nation. And the world is watching us. Are these rules really about improving food safety and regulation, or are they about something else? Are we lifting South African entrepreneurs up, or are we tearing down immigrant entrepreneurs in the process? I'm not here to support foreign-owned Spaza shops, but I'm also not here to tear them down. Many of these shops have been a part of South Africa's communities for decades, providing essential goods and contributing to local economies. While it's true that some may not fully comply with regulations, it's worth asking, is it fair to close their businesses without considering the broader implications? Shouldn't we be striving for a balance, ensuring that regulation doesn't undermine the vital role these shops play in many townships? The bigger question is, have we as a nation turned against foreign nationals, or are we simply grappling with the complexities of this situation? I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Is the government doing the right thing, or is this a step in the wrong direction? And what would you do differently? Let's keep the conversation going. If you found any value in this video, please do like, share and subscribe. and I will see you in the next video. Ta-da!